Start streaming. Are you sure you want to start live streaming the event? No, I think I'm going to back out at the last moment. Like a coward. Alright, we are live. Let me pause that. Let me change this setting. Let me back over here. Do I have everything I need? Yes, I do. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the final episode of Season 1 of Radio Radix, the next episode of Season 2. We're going to go on a little hiatus after this episode, but after a week or so, we'll be back, but this time on Commander's Cabin. So make sure you subscribe to Commander's Cabin. Link is in the... I actually don't know if the link's in the description. At the very least, you can go to my channel and see it in the sidebar. That's the amount of effort I'm putting into this. Today, we're going to do something a little bit different today. Today I'm going to... I'm giving a lesson, a little lecture on the history of the Cuckoo Universe. I'll look at the timeline. If you don't know what the Cuckoo Universe is, it's a fan fiction universe I started when I was in kindergarten, and I just never stopped writing in it. It has this weird amalgamation of DC Comics-ish stuff, Marvel Comics-ish stuff, Transformers-ish stuff. A lot of stuff are approximations of things that happen in comics while being worse. Or I'll try to do an original spin on something and it just makes it worse. Plus, there's a lot of original with some plagiarizing here and there sides of the Cuckoo Universe where I try to write something original. So overall, it's hard to describe the Cuckoo Universe. I like to call it a train wreck. I have two fans on me right now because it's really hot, so if it's too loud, cry about it. Take a little time to reflect about your life and about how two fans in a video are just bothering you. Maybe see a therapist. Today, we have our students. Our first student is our co-host, Twisted Ambition. Oh wait, he's not here. Also with us today is Dreadcore and Ultrox Infinity.
Present.
Hello.
I think my music's too loud. Hold on. All right, class. Are you pumped for this? Are you pumped to learn about this stupid thing?
So pumped!
I'm pumped, Commander Radix, sir.
I see. Any questions before we begin?
I have a question.
Yes, Dreadcore.
Is attendance taken for this class?
Let's see. All right, Twisted Ambition. Dreadcore.
Here.
All right, Ultrox.
Present.
Oh wow, we got our entire class here. All right.
Do we?
All right, let's.
Well, we know he can't count. Good thing he's not teaching math.
That's very true. So, let me try to compare the two timelines I have because I tried to rush and make out a timeline. I failed. So, if I seem scatterbrained, that's because I am. Let's start with the beginning. Let's start with God. See, in the Cuckoo Universe, there is a being we call God, but it's not exactly a... I guess, it's not exactly any god from any religion. It's just a being that pretty much is all-powerful and is kind of sort of responsible for the creation of the universe. We're really unsure about that, and by we're I mean I, the writer, am unsure about this. It's hinted at that he created reality as an experiment to just create it and sit back and take a look at what happens. And it's also hinted that the very concept of him existing meant that the universe had to be created around him. It's like this weird esoteric, like this thing we call God is like the metaphysical manifestation of the concept of being. And because of that, he has always existed, and I don't know what he is. I'm the writer, I don't know what he is.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, is this just like replace the god of, or does other religions still exist in the Cuckoo Universe?
That's a good question. Yes, there are other gods and other religious... Well, I don't know if there's any... There are Greek and, like... The Asgardians are aliens. We take the Marvel Cinematic Universe approach to that. But, like, the Greek gods are a thing. and there are gods on other alien planets and stuff like that. And there's a reason why all these gods exist, and also there is God, capital G, and we'll get to that. Basically, God gets tired of being alone and sends out a super wave across the universe that, has a random possibility of turning people into at least having God powers or whatever. But it's more intricate than that, and we'll get to that. Let's see. This god isn't exactly like, his natural physical appearance is sort of what you'd imagine a human to look like. He's just some guy, but, and you might say, that's weird that God just happens to look like a human. We'll get to that. It's also going to explain why there's a lot of alien races like Kryptonians and Asgardians that look just like humans. But we'll get to that. This god also isn't necessarily benevolent. He isn't looking out for his children or anything. He's kind of sitting back and looking at everything that's happening, and he eventually, it's almost like the oh no, I was about to say. I was about to say it's almost like the quote, "God is dead and we have killed him," but I realize that's not what it is at all. It's that he's lost faith in creation. He's seen all the damage, and not just humanity, this goes for all the alien races as well, how much damage and destruction and war and evil creation is capable of, and he kind of regrets making everything, but at the same time it's like a train wreck. He doesn't want to wipe everything out, because then he'll just be bored. So he's just putting himself through just watching all this suffering. Also, he isn't, how exactly would you define omnipotent?
Omnipotent would be he's able to do anything. Just like,
well, I guess, yeah.
Bar none.
It's just, like, say, I guess the concept is that God is always watching, do whatever you, I guess in religious circles it's do what God would be happy to see you do. This God isn't always watching. It's more like he has a TV. He doesn't literally have a TV, but this is how I'm going to describe the concept. He can turn it on whenever he wants and can flip to specific channels, but he isn't watching every single channel all the time 24/7. If you're calling out God's name while you're being beaten out in an alley, he probably doesn't know. He's probably off looking at some weird tide pool on some planet in the middle of nowhere. So he isn't exactly all-knowing, but he has the power to just, I wonder what this dude's doing, and just teleport over, in the metaphysical sense, not in the physical sense, over to see what's going on. Let's see, any other details about the Cuckoo Universe's God? He goes by other names like the Presence, which comes from DC, the Source, which I also think comes from DC. He goes by all these different names. I'll just call him God to be simple. And I think that's all we have to say about him. Now, the universe. The Cuckoo Universe goes through this thing of called a cycle. If you're familiar with the concept in the Elder Scrolls of the Kalpa, it's similar to that. The universe is in a cycle of life and death. This is a concept from Marvel. It starts as a cosmic egg. Just this egg-shaped thing that's this infinitesimal point in space, which, although space doesn't exist, trying to wrap your head around, like, it's sort of like the question about the Big Bang. Alright, all these things came into contact and caused the Big Bang, but how did they come into contact before space existed? So we're getting into weird metaphysics at the beginning, but you have the cosmic egg, and within the cosmic egg is all the cosmic energy, and then it explodes in the Big Bang, triggered by God. The Big Bang happens, life goes on, and slowly the universe eventually dies in what's called the Big Crunch, and then it goes back together into the cosmic egg, and then the cycle repeats again. The cosmic egg cracks, Big Bang, life goes on until everything dies, Big Crunch. Although the Big Crunch is like physically the universe is getting smaller. It expands, and then it reaches a point where it's expanded far enough that it stops expanding, and then it contracts, and then Big Crunch. And it's just this constant cycle. We have no idea how many times this cycle has gone on. Yes. Who has their phone not on silent in my classroom?
It was Dreadcore. It was Dreadcore.
No, them little drugs. You have no proof. You have no proof.
Joke's on you. My mom took my phone.
Well, that okay. I have a question though.
Yes.
Was Metaphysics 101 a prerequisite for this class? Because I think I skipped that.
No. We can go
Oh.
on without metaphysics, because obviously I don't understand metaphysics, or else I wouldn't be writing what I write.
That's a good point.
I have a question, if you don't mind the interruption.
Yes, old trucks.
It's also a out of the fourth wall. When did you write this?
When did I write?
can't imagine a tiny primate, Radix, writing this.
Yeah, this is actually a relatively new concept. I think it came... The story this stuff is talked about took place in 2017. That doesn't mean I wrote it in 2017, but it would be... There is a one... We are somewhere in the 2010s at this point when I wrote this. This isn't like when I start... When did I start writing this? It's been 16 years... 2018 minus 16. Easy math that I shouldn't need a calculator for, but hey, math is not my strong suit. 2002. 2002 when I started writing this whole Cuckoo Universe stuff. Obviously, it wasn't written anywhere between 2002 and 2009. Somewhere between 2010 and 2017, I guess. I think it would probably be 2016, come to think of it. But let's see. Cosmic Cycle, Cosmic Egg, Big Bang, Big Crunch. 1 cycle ago. We know some stuff from 1 cycle ago. The cycle before the current cycle. And the only reason we know this is because there are some characters that popped up from the previous cycle, because it's possible to survive a cycle. And by the way, what goes on in a cycle? Sometimes you'll have a cycle that's almost identical to the Cuckoo universe as it is now, with, you know, Batman running around and freaking Transformers, but sometimes you'll have a cycle that's like some Cthulhu crap. The cycles are all different concepts of reality. They might be like a previous universe, they might be slightly different than the current universe, or they might be completely alien. 1 cycle ago was fairly similar to the current Cuckoo universe, except the Green Lanterns, the Lantern Corps, aren't called lanterns or Green Lanterns, they're called Lightsmiths, and this is actually a concept from a DC comic that came out in like 2014-ish. But
I'm familiar.
You have the Lightsmiths, and they're using the emotional electromagnetic spectrum, you know, the power source of all the lantern stuff. They keep using it, and they keep using it, and it turns out that that energy is tied with the life of the universe. And when they keep using their powers abusively, they slowly drain the universe of its life. And this is what spells the end for the cycle before the current cycle. You have this scientist dude who we now call Relic. We don't know his name at this time period. We call him Relic because, you know, he's really old, older than time itself, because it's from the previous cycle. But he's like, yo, this is bad, you're draining the universe. And the Lightsmiths are like, we don't care, nah, 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 nah. The universe dies. Relic hides in the Source Wall, which is this magical wall that surrounds the universe. We don't exactly know the origin of the Source Wall in the previous cycle. There is a Source Wall in the current cycle, but it doesn't really make sense. We'll get to that. It doesn't make sense that there's a Source Wall in the previous cycle, but we'll get to that. Relic goes into the Source Wall, which is from DC Comics, a concept where like there's this wall around the universe, you can get stuck in it, yada yada yada. Relic gets stuck in the Source Wall, the universe the big crunch happens, and there's a Cosmic Egg. Although before it goes into a Cosmic Egg, right before it's about to go Cosmic Egg style, we have this dude called Gallon of the planet Ta. And this is Galactus from Marvel Comics. And he manages to have a ship, he manages to survive the big crunch. How does he do that? I don't know. But yeah, we have our big crunch, we have the Cosmic Egg, we're ready to start the new cycle for the current Cuckoo universe. God sees the Cosmic Egg, cracks it, boom, big bang, the Cuckoo universe has begun. Gallon of Ta comes flying out, has to get some advanced technology, is really big, has to eat stuff to survive, yada yada yada, Galactus. Relic is... Actually, Relic doesn't get free at this point. Relic's stuck in the Source Wall, which doesn't exist yet. We'll get to that. But a couple things happen simultaneously at the Big Bang. First, a lot of excess energy is expelled because, you know, you have all this cosmic energy just going wild, poof. Some of them crystallize into ingots. That's where we get the Infinity Stones. Some of it stays in a sort of liquidy, pseudo-solid energy. That's where we get the zodiac energy, which is a concept that comes from Transformers. Let's see. Big Bang, Galactus, Infinity Stone, zodiac energy. Alright, now we get to the multiverse. Because this is what sets the Cuckoo universe apart, the current cycle of the Cuckoo universe apart from the previous cycles, and that's, in all the previous cycles, there was no multiverse. 10 billion years ago, so in the future, because 10 billion years ago is still far in the future before the Big Bang. Are you guys trying? Is the mind sort of working like a gymnast right now, trying to follow this?
Trying to piece all this together.
I'm just gonna imagine it as a giant circle, and like the timeline goes along the outside of the circle. It's
right. So
I assume this. Well, you didn't come up with this sort of universe cycling thing, did you?
Right.
I just assumed that was your way to avoid multiverses, but
nope.
I have a question.
Yes.
I have a question. Did you ever feel bad when you started directly plagiarizing information?
Well, consider that it started off as a fan fiction. So.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
Start off as a fanfic Batman comic, and then you just start bringing in more superhero characters, and then lo and behold, all these characters have baggage to them of continuity, and then you get a universe. But let's see. So, the Big Bang happens 19 billion years ago, which is significantly older than the real Big Bang, but 19 billion years ago is when the Big Bang happened. We're going to flash forward to 10 billion years ago, so 9 billion years in the future from the beginning of time. We have this planet called Maltus, we have this dude called Krona, this mad scientist. He wants to go back, he wants to use this machine he's built to look back in time to see the beginning of the universe, because nobody knows how the universe began. He gets this device, looks back in time, sees God's hand shaping the universe. It breaks a cosmic rule and causes the multiverse to just sort of his device to see the beginning of time blows up, because apparently it's some rule of the universe that you can't see the beginning of time. And so his device blows up. Let's take our minds back to 19 billion years ago with the Big Bang happening. God's sort of shaping the universe, and all of a sudden things are going wonky. Cosmic energy is going crazy. The universe duplicates, presumably infinitely, although I'm not certain on that yet, and all of a sudden there's a multiverse. God freaks out because his powers are going crazy. He's sort of like doing this, he's being stretched across a multiverse that he can't handle. He creates the source wall around the Cuckoo universe, which is Earth 1, I believe. Yeah, it would be Earth 1. The main universe, Earth 1, is the Cuckoo universe. He builds a source wall which it separates the different universes from the bleed or transwarp space that exists between universes. And the source wall is created. If you try to go into the source wall, you get trapped. Also on the other side of the source wall is God, although also on the other source wall is the bleed, which is he's trying to stay away from that. So don't think about the source wall too hard.
I have a question.
Yes, Dreadcore.
I forgot my question. Never mind.
Alright. So, with the source wall being created, Relic's there, stuck in the source wall. Don't know how he managed to be in the source wall of the cycle beforehand, and then is now in this new source wall in the current cycle. But whatever. And with the creation of the multiverse, God finds himself not over control of all of reality, because all of a sudden all these universes pops up that he has no authority over. So now it's pretty much theorized that the current cycle of the Cuckoo universe is the final cycle. If the universe dies, then that's it. There won't be another cycle. So that's sort of a plot thread that hasn't been picked up yet. But
I have a question.
Yes, Dreadcore.
I remember my previous question, which was, could Earth 1 be called Earth Prime?
I mean, anything could be called Earth Prime if you just point at it and call it Earth Prime.
That's true.
Nobody calls it Earth
I have about a million
Prime.
questions.
Well, want to ask any of them?
I don't know if my questions are just me misunderstanding or what. So, some guy looks back in time to the Big Bang, and that is the event that caused the eventual multiverses.
Yes.
But they no multiverses were in any of the previous cycles, though.
Correct. None of the cycles had any multiverses. The current cycle is the first cycle where somebody looked back in time to the creation of the universe.
Ultrax, to make it more confusing, the multiverse was created at the beginning of this universe by events that happened later in this universe.
It's the time travel thing of
Yes. Yeah.
But I've seen the time travel route that you're taking, and hopefully you never contradict yourself.
Hopefully. All right. So let's see. We have the multiverse now. Earth 8, and I have an asterisk around Earth 8 because I can't remember. I only went back when I created the multiverse, and when I brought up all these alternate universes, I never bothered to give them a label. So recently, and by recently I mean like last year, I tried to list out all the different alternate universes that popped up and try to give them names. Although I did that later on, a few months later, because I lost that original document, and then I found that old document again. So a lot of these universes have multiple, like Earth 8 is also Earth 6 or whatever, and I haven't written out their names in canon yet. So I'm going to say Earth 8 with an asterisk, because if it ever appears again in written fiction, which is canon, I might have a more solid name for that universe. But Earth 8 is interesting because the universe itself of Earth 8 gets sentience. It starts to develop its own mind. And it's sort of this hostile force that begins to go through the bleed/transwarp space and consumes other universes for sustenance. That will be a problem later on, but we're still only 19 billion years ago, so it will be a while before there are even people to deal with that. Let's see. There's this sort of god creature called the One that is birthed at this time out of excess Big Bang energy. He'll be sort of the transformer god creator. Source wall is made. Okay, so God doesn't create life directly, not like Bible style where he snaps his fingers and oh look, there's Adam. God creates this thing called the life entity, which is this big white thing, and he tasks the life entity with just going around using its powers to just spawn life. It's sort of it's almost like a ripple where it just ripples from the life entity's body, and then slowly single-celled organisms pop up in like primordial steamy water or whatever. So evolution happens. It's just that the life entity created the first single-celled organisms throughout the universe. The life entity sort of prescribes some of these, sort of paves the path of evolution for these creatures, that they'll evolve in the form of its creator God, which would mean they just end up looking like some guy. It's not that God looks like a human, it's that humans look like God. And this goes on, it's not just Earth's humans, this goes on for Kryptonians, for Asgardians, for any other race out there that looks like a human. And then the further you are from the life entity, the less human you look like. You might get hawk wings, for example. You might be orange with green eyes. And then the farthest verges of the universe, you got freaking the most abstract type of life forms that are not really comparable to the humanoid shape at all. The life entity... Eventually the life entity falls asleep and just starts drifting out through space. We have some things here where God's just going around creating stuff. He creates the Endless from DC Comics: destiny, death, dream, destruction, desire, despair, delight, except delight becomes delirium. They're just these manifestations of these concepts. God also creates his own little realm for him called Heaven, and he creates 7 archangels, and has them lead over the angel, which is another race he creates. One of the archangels is Lucifer, who eventually gets tired of God, launches a rebellion, takes about 1/3 of the angel population with him. God defeats him, creates a realm for him called Hell, banishes him there. Now, heaven and hell, they aren't separate universes, they're sort of dimensions or realms. They exist within Earth 1. It's just, if you're just sitting at your computer in your house, you can't just walk over to heaven or hell, or even get on a ship and fly to there. You have to cross the boundaries of dimensions. Oh, by the way, every universe has an antimatter universe. I should have mentioned that. So, yeah, Earth 1 has its own antimatter universe, Earth 2 has its own antimatter universe, and so on.
I have a question.
Yes, Dreadcore.
If each universe has an antimatter universe, and you haven't decided whether there are infinite universes or not, if there are infinite universes, does it mean there are infinite squared or infinite times 2 universes or something?
Well, infinity times 2 is still infinity.
Yeah, this is true, but I'm just trying, for, I don't know, reasons.
I have a question. What's an antimatter universe?
Don't worry about if you don't know what antimatter is in the scientific terms, because it's not scientific at all. It's just, stereotypical, an evil universe.
Ooh.
And
pseudoscience.
If something from the antimatter universe comes to the matter universe and touches something, they cancel each other out. Except, no, they don't. The antimatter just wipes out the matter. So, don't... It's not scientific. Just, it's comic book stuff here. Let's see. And it's also weird because, it's the evil universe, but there already is an evil universe in Earth 3. there are multiple evil universes, just... I like the evil universe trope, okay? Let's see, Lucifer's...
Wait, I have a question.
Yes, Ultrox.
Is there an antimatter universe of the evil universe?
Yes, there is.
Oh boy.
I have a question.
Yes, Dreadcore.
Is the antimatter universe of the evil universe more evil or good?
I don't know. I've never written about it. I just know there are multiple universes. One of them's an evil universe, and every universe has an antimatter universe. So logic would dictate it likely has an antimatter counterpart. I just don't know what that would look like. And I'm the writer, so.
Oh boy.
Life entity, endless, source wall. The only thing left we have to say about 19 billion years ago is that this time period is called the First World by the new gods, and we'll get to them later. They sort of divide time into the First World, the Second World, and the Third World. Not like Africa, but they just measure their times in worlds. I don't know if I should have said that. I'm skipping a lot of stuff on this timeline that's irrelevant. So sometimes I might say something that's just irrelevant, and I just didn't really make the decision on the spot whether that would be relevant or not. So we can finally move forward in time to 18 billion years ago, where we have... Actually, that's irrelevant. We can move forward in time to we can move forward in time to 15 billion years ago. There's this planet called God World, where there are humanoid people there, and God sort of looks at God World and says, you know what? I just want to... This God's kind of a sociopath, just playing with people's lives for fun, just sitting back and watching what's going on. God looks at God World and says, you know, I wonder what would happen if I just made half of the population of the planet gods, and just made them be forced to feed off the power of the non-God population's prayers. I just want to see what happens. Like, you think they'll get so fed up and arrogant with their powers they just won't bother to answer the prayers of their people? You think they would spell their own destruction if the people who are praying for them notice that the gods no longer care about them and they stop praying to them? That would be interesting to see. Kind of a sociopathic jerk move to do, but I'm gonna do it. So he gives half the population of the planet God powers. And this begins the second world measured by the people of God World. Let's see. That would
I have
be...
a question.
Yes, Dreadcore.
Is this taken from the DC universe?
Correct.
Thank you.
Moving forward to 10 billion years ago, we have the planet Maltus. And on the planet Maltus, there are single-celled creatures that are slowly developing. They begin to form and attach themselves to more complicated creatures, sort of controlling them through telepathy, until after generations of evolution, the small single-celled telepathic creatures and their symbiotic hosts sort of merge into one being. They evolve into these sort of blue, big-head humanoids. And as humanoids, they start fighting civil wars with each other over religion, culture, what have you. Ultimately, each faction wants control of the planet Maltus. One of the factions launches a plague that it infects people and kills them, and it's transmitted through touch. Most of the population is wiped out on Maltus until they realize that people in rural, empty areas are living better than the people in the cities. Because people in the cities are more cramped together, people out in the freaking farms aren't touching each other that often. Let's see. So they discover how the plague is spread. The different factions outlaw touching and reproduction. And they eventually create this system of reproduction through genetic engineering, through artificial means. And that leads to enlightenment, telepathic abilities of their old ancestors are reactivated. They become more technological, yet they become more cold, because they don't really have any human, in air quotes, interaction. Let's see. And eventually the younger generation just becomes brash, immoral, immature, irresponsible. And they start killing people just because they think that's the fun thing to do. This leads to a generation war between the older generation and the younger generation. And ultimately the elders are victorious. They wipe out the younger population and they make reproduction of any kind, artificial or otherwise, illegal. At this point they're so technologically advanced that they're immortal, so they don't care about having children anymore anyway. Let's see. Younger generation, generation war. Alright. And it's at this point where we have the Maltus dude, Krona, who gets his device, looks back in time, sees the multiverse, blah blah blah, his device explodes. We're back to this point in time. When the device explodes, there's a little space and time, I guess, are unstable at the moment that his device explodes. This human called Volthoom pops up. Now Volthoom is... I'm not sure exactly what I want to do with Volthoom. I'm not sure if he's from a previous cycle. I don't know if he's from the future. But Volthoom is this dude who knows about the emotional electromagnetic spectrum, the sort of energy the Green Lanterns have. And he says, I'll teach you about this magical EES, which I'm going to refer to it now as, because emotional electromagnetic spectrum's hard to say. He's like, I'm going to teach you guys about the EES. And the Maltusians are like, oh, okay, teach us about that. Meanwhile, in the antimatter universe, we have this dude named Mobius on the planet Quard, and he has this magical chair that he's developed that can answer every question in the universe. He wants to use that chair to see the beginning of the universe. He's basically the antimatter counterpart to Krona. At the same time, Krona is looking back in time to see the multiverse. Mobius asks the chair, how did the universe begin? Boom, you have the multiverse happen, everything's unstable, and this being called the anti-life entity arrives. The anti-life entity arrives from the future, and we'll get to how the anti-life entity was made later on. The anti-life entity arrives, possesses Mobius. Mobius falls asleep, then wakes up as this powerful being called the Anti-Monitor. To keep the balance, God in the matter universe notices that, hey, this really powerful antimatter dude just popped up in the antimatter universe. I'll make this balance. I'll create this dude called the Monitor. And the Monitor pops up on Maltus. Let's see. So, I'm losing myself here. In fact, I'm not entirely sure. Because there was so much time traveling. There was like 3 different levels of time traveling in that one little section there. We'll just move on. There's a race somewhere else in space. They sort of mirror the Maltusians in that they get immortality and feel that they have great power, and they decide, we'll help all these different civilizations that are fighting each other, and, you know, we can create peace in the universe. So they see 2 civilizations who are fighting each other. They go up to them and is like, hey, we'll try to help, we'll intervene. Unfortunately, they don't know the intricacies of the political institutions of these 2 civilizations or their cultures, accidentally end up seeing the 2 civilizations wipe each other out through nuclear weapons. So the advanced immortal race sees that they tried to step in, tried to make the universe a better place, but ended up genociding 2 people. They decide, okay, let's no longer interfere with events. Let's just, because we wiped out 2 civilizations, let's just sort of curse ourselves with the task of always watching, always chronicling events. And so they become the Watchers, which comes from the Marvel comic. Yes, Dreadcore.
Isn't that kind of a rash decision to make on a spur of the moment like that?
Probably.
Yeah. I don't
Yeah.
actually know who the Watchers are. That's something.
Yeah. Marvel rarely pops up in this because I only started bringing in Marvel stuff pretty late on. So Marvel is sort of... There's definitely a lot more DC elements here than Marvel. But Marvel will still pop up. So, let me check the 2 timelines. I'm checking back and forth my 2 timelines to see, should I be here yet? Alright, 6 billion years ago. The One, the being created by freaking Big Bang Energy at the beginning, decides he wants to explore the universe. So he creates this astral being to go out to explore, who he names Unicron. And Unicron goes out and explores and kind of goes, man, life kind of sucks. The Watchers just annihilated 2 races. So he's like, you know what? I'm just... not humanity. All of creation is doomed to die eventually. So I'm just going to speed up the process. I consider it a mercy killing. So he goes around destroying planets. The One realizes that the dude he sent out to explore is massacring entire civilizations. He's like, alright, we gotta balance things out here. He takes Unicron, splits him in half. One half remains Unicron, the other half becomes this astral being called Primus. And Primus's job is to sort of be at peace with everything, and sort of be the balance to Unicron. Unicron and Primus eventually start fighting each other, and then Primus realizes that the 2 are equally matched.
Hi.
Hello.
How's it going?
Somebody, what's 19 minus 6?
19 minus 6?
7.
13?
13? Alright, you've missed 13 billion years of history so far.
Oh! Oh, Jesus Christ!
Big.
It's history class all over again!
I have a question.
Yes, Dreadcore.
Shouldn't the One have realized that splitting them into 2 equally powerful entities that war against each other for all of eternity would cause more pain and suffering than just destroying Unicron and recreating him without the flaw that made him go around killing everything?
But the One loves Unicron. Unicron's his own creation, and he kind of wants... He wants a balance, but he doesn't want to kill his own dude he made, even if he is a murdering monster.
So instead he screwed around with his mind and split him apart into 2 separate beings.
So the One is a douchebag.
Yes,
One is a douchebag.
yes, we
Alright,
haven't
well,
even...
I'll answer my first question. Who was the One? But that makes more sense now. The douchebag. Gotcha. Understood.
And the One, that isn't even the jerkiest thing the One will do. But, actually, originally, Primus doesn't want to fight Unicron. Primus is like, you know what, I just want to live in peace. Unicron creates a pantheon called the Dark Gods, and the Dark Gods are basically his biker gang that go around destroying stuff in the universe.
Hashtag edgy name.
Exactly. And the One, not the One, Primus creates the Light Gods, and they just sort of live in their freaking hippie commune. Just like, everything's at peace. The Primus doesn't want to fight Unicron at the beginning. So Unicron one day just shows up with his Dark Gods and just attacks Primus, wipes out the Light Gods entirely. Not entirely, some of them survive, but that's getting into details. And Primus is sort of sad because, all his Light Gods are gone. So the One
Oh man, my friends are dead.
So the One goes over to Primus and is like, okay, Primus, here's the thing. All your Light Gods died and went to this place called the Omniversal Matrix. Think of like Valhalla for the Light Gods. And I can let you into the Omniversal Matrix, but only if you destroy Unicron. And Primus is like, alright, I really want to see my friends again. I don't like violence, I don't want to fight Unicron, but if I can see my friends again, he decides to go and fight Unicron. The One, meanwhile, is like, there's no way Primus is going to defeat Unicron, I just really wanted them to fight each other. They're evenly matched, I want them to keep fighting each other till the end of time, so there's a balance. Also, I'm debating on whether or not for the reveal that there is no Omniversal Matrix and the Light Gods are just dead. But yeah, that is probably the jerkiest thing the One does.
I have a question.
Yes, Ultrox.
I thought the One loved them.
He loves them in so much as he doesn't want to kill them. But he's perfectly okay with them fighting each other to a standstill for the remainder of the life of the universe.
Does the One
Nobody
just not
died
really
in the
understand
constant
death?
vein.
I think the One might be an abusive parent.
That's very accurate.
I have
So-
a question.
Yes,
I think the
Twisted.
ones that abuse a parent.
Yeah, a question. I think the ones that abuse. Yeah. So, Primus is fighting Unicron to a standstill, and he's like, "There's no way I'm going to be able to beat him. As long as we are fighting each other, this equation is just a zero-sum game. So what if I take myself out of the equation? What if I just sort of leave and create people to fight Unicron for me?" And by the way, he kills all the Dark Gods. So
Somewhere in between all that, yeah.
So Primus creates this plan, where the first stage of his plan is, all right, I'm going to trap Unicron inside of an asteroid, and if that stops, because they're astral beings, they're sort of phasing in and out of stuff. I think the movie Doctor Strange described the astral being concept pretty well. They can phase in and out of reality and into the astral plane. He's like, if I phase Unicron in, because Unicron's not as smart as Primus, but he is stronger. That's sort of how they balance each other out, even though technically in a fight, the dude that's stronger is going to win.
Yeah.
But Primus is being crafty here. Primus is like, if I can manage to get him in this position where I'm finding him in the astral plane, position him over an asteroid in the reality plane, then phase into reality and trap him phasing into an asteroid. Let's ignore the part where Unicron can just phase out into the astral plane after being
Wait,
stuck
I
in
have
an
a
asteroid.
question.
Yes, Ultrox.
Let's not ignore that.
Okay, let's not ignore that. Okay, see, if we start pulling that string, nothing will make sense ever again.
Okay, you can continue.
So, but Primus is like, if that doesn't work, I'll create these little people to fight Unicron for me. So the plan goes through. He phases Unicron into an asteroid, except Primus screws it up, and he himself gets phased into another asteroid. He's like, well, if we're both stuck in asteroids, it's not like we can do anything. We can't control the asteroid or anything. Psych! Unicron has psionic powers. He starts to form metal around himself, becomes a giant metal planet with freaking horns over the top with a mouth that can eat planets. And Primus is like, oh no, I made it worse. So Primus is like, alright, time to put Plan B into motion. He starts metal forming himself, becomes a giant metal planet called Cybertron, and prepares to create the Transformers, though that won't happen until a billion years later.
I have a question.
Yes, Dreadcore.
If Primus had the ability to do that, why didn't he think of the possibility that Unicron might have had that ability too?
Yeah. So 5 billion years ago.
These gods all sound like idiots, really.
They are.
It's fucking Naruto with space beings.
There's actually a running thing.
No,
The Cuckoo
there's a
universe.
running thing?
The Cuckoo universe actually has a lot of religious commentary in it, which is a sentence I didn't want to say, but it's true. There's a lot of religious commentary. There's a lot of the fallible god
question.
trope in the Cuckoo. Yes, Twisted.
Do you recognize Muhammad as your one true god in this universe?
No.
He's kind of
You're
gone
dead,
over
I'm
God.
sorry,
You
man.
missed it.
We
went over
you missed
God.
it. I think out of all the gods in this universe, yours actually makes the most sense, Primus. Because he just doesn't really give a shit.
Yeah, thank you.
But
I will
sometimes
say
he does give a shit.
Okay,
I put a lot of thought into how I wanted to portray God in the Cuckoo universe. Although my first story to introduce God was in Conquest when I was in my edgy middle schooler phase. So we'll get to.
Did you ever leave that?
Yes, I guess. But God's gonna be a lot more of a jerk in when we get to the 2015-ish part of the timeline. Where
That's Leviticus for you.
So, 5 billion years ago, remember God World, where God made half the population gods just to screw around with the population of the planet?
Yeah, I remember this planet. Yep.
So, at this point, the gods that God created on God World. Jesus Christ, that sentence.
That's a sentence.
So, the gods he created on God World are called the Old Gods, so I'll call them Old Gods. The Old Gods have been so happy with their powers, and they stopped listening to the prayers of the civilians. There's this dude called Uxus, who's like, I'm tired of the gods not listening to me. We're going to have a revolution. I'm going to convince everyone to stop praying to the gods. I'm going to prove to them that the gods can be killed, and he kills a god. And
That won't go wrong.
he kills a god who's already weakened because the people are starting to not pray. The people see Uxus just killed a god and they're like, alright, screw this dude, let's rebel against our gods. The old gods are panicking like, Jesus Christ, the civilians are up, the peasants are revolting. And this begins the God World Civil War. The old gods start to panic because they're losing everything. Gods are dying left and right, and so they're like, we need more power. Who was that dude who gave us power all those billions of years ago? God with a capital G? Let's go bother him. So like a frantic crowd of freaking K-pop fans, they run over to God and like, we need our powers back, and God's like, hey, yes, Twisted.
Alright, how is it a civil war if it's mortals versus gods? Wouldn't it be humans versus humans be more civil war?
Well, if we want to get to the intricacies of it, some of the civilians still side with the gods, and the gods did originate as normal people on the planet. It's more of a revolution than a civil war per se, but
I'm good with that.
I have a question.
Yes,
No more
Ultrax.
So these gods from the god planet, they traveled. You said God lays like outside those 2 layers outside the universe. So they've traveled through all those.
They discover God out. He's in the main universe. He's outside the
Just
source.
browsing.
Yes.
Just chilling, man.
Yeah, God just sometimes just is chilling around in the matter universe.
Just materializes a lazy boy and just sits there watching TV.
So
TV being the universe.
the old gods are frantically asking God for their powers back, and God's like, dude, it was a social experiment. You guys failed. So the old gods attack God, and even though they're weak, even at their full strength, they would be weaker than God. But all of them together, they manage to wound God a little bit. This causes a chunk of God to go flying off, and that chunk, because it got defeated by lesser beings, sort of becomes evil. Don't think too much about that. This chunk becomes known as the anti-life entity, and if we go back to 10 billion years ago, it's the anti-life entity will go back in time to possess Mobius on Quard when he tried to ask the question, what created the universe, and then ultimately become the Anti-Monitor. But God is he's pretty pissed that the old gods attacked him. He retreats back behind the source wall and is like, you know what? I'm going to cause this prophecy called Ragnarok to happen. Not to be confused with the Norse mythology Ragnarok, or the X-Men character Ragnarok, or how many other Ragnaroks might apply in the Cuckoo universe. This Ragnarok prophecy is that 2 brothers will fight on God World and their battle will lead to the destruction of the planet. This prophecy comes true because Uxus has a brother called Isaiah, which is a very human name, but Isaiah discovers Uxus is feeding off the suffering from the God World Civil War, because that's just how evil Uxus is. And Isaiah's like, you can't do that, man. And Uxus is like, I'm gonna do what I want. So
man, that's rude. You can't do that.
they find the body of the god of the sky, and they both absorb his powers. They just find a random god body lying around, because it's, you can find god bodies lying around at this point in time. They take the powers of this god, because it's like some Highlander crap where you take the powers of whoever you kill. And they both get powered by this god energy. They fight each other. They are equally matched.
Wait. Did they kill the god?
I mean, at some point in the past, I suppose.
No, it's saying did they kill him? He said it was like Highlander, where if you kill you get the power of the person you kill.
Well, I guess
that means whoever killed that god is now a god themselves. Then therefore the humans are gonna be after them, right?
I guess it's like looting a body in a video game. You can sometimes just kill a god, but not go over and pick up the
shit.
God
I found
power.
his god abilities in his pocket. Look at this shit. Shit, you want some of his god juice? Here, I'll drink half this god juice. You drink the other half of this god juice. All right, let's fucking fight. Yeah, right. Let's do this shit.
So Uxus and Isaiah fight. Their powers are evenly matched. Godworld cracks and then literally blows up Death Star style, except that the Death Star blew up like a Lego Death Star, and one half went flying in one direction, the other half went flying the other direction. This is Ragnarok. This is the death of Godworld. Let's see. So with Godworld destroyed, God's like, that whole experiment was an embarrassment. Maybe I shouldn't just do that. Instead, what he does is he does the exact same thing he did to Godworld at the beginning, except for the entire universe. He launches this thing called the God Wave, where he just takes his powers and just sends it out in like a big wave across the universe. God is weaker than he was at the beginning because he had the anti-life part of him chunked off. So when you get hit by this God Wave, there's a chance of you getting God powers, except you're going to be weaker than the old gods were, and you're going to be more...
cancer.
And you're going to be more fallible. It also creates these more weird things. The God Wave also creates the speed force and the emotional electromagnetic spectrum. Now you might be saying, wait a minute, Radix, wasn't Volthoom teaching the Maltusians about the emotional electromagnetic spectrum? Yes, that's because I didn't realize that in the timeline when I was writing that story, the emotional electromagnetic spectrum wouldn't have existed at that point in time. So apparently it's been retconned that Volthoom has been teaching these dudes this stuff for about 5 billion years without the thing he's trying to teach them actually existing.
I have a question.
Yes, Stredgar.
Since God is God, couldn't he just make it so that it had already happened in the past that he had done that?
Probably.
I feel like that would probably complicate things even further.
Yeah, I don't want to go down that route. There is.
Okay.
I don't want to spoil anything, but God, there is going to be a story I'm going to write where there's more to God than meets the eye, I guess.
He's a transformer. He's
not a transformer, but there's a character that... No, I won't say anything. Keep reading the Cuckoo universe for that little plot twist. Of course, it involves time travel. So, Primus and Unicron, we've already talked about that. So, I'm looking at 2 timelines, and I have when Primus and Unicron are trapped in planets at 2 different points in time. Let's go down to... Primus creates the 13 original Transformers, and they sort of train to fight Unicron, blah blah blah, doesn't matter. 4.8 billion years ago. So the life entity is still drifting out in space, and at this point he's been drifting around for so long that a lot of rock and stuff has developed around him. Ultimately, he's at the core of a planet called Earth. That will be important later on, obviously. At 4.8 billion years ago, the God Wave finally hits Isaiah's half of Godworld and Uxas's half of Godworld. There's this weird dichotomy here, I don't know why it's here, but the new gods of Isaiah's planet are generally positive in morality, but they're still fallible. Same thing with Uxas's side of the planet, they become more negative in morality. I don't know how you can measure morality in positive and negatives, but whatever.
Good vibes, man.
So, Isaiah and Uxas get more god powers. They're really powerful. Not super powerful, like new god level powerful. Uxas decides to rule his half of Godworld with an iron fist. He redubs himself Darkseid and redubs his half of the planet as Apocalypse.
Oh no.
Meanwhile, Isaiah's half becomes known as freaking New Genesis, and Isaiah goes on this soul-searching trip in the forest of New Genesis and finds this freaking staff that's really God in staff form, and the staff's like yeah, the staff's like, you must lead your people, Isaiah, and Isaiah's like, okay, and he takes the staff and he becomes known as High Father. And Apocalypse and New Genesis start going to war with each other. This begins the freaking Apocalypse New Genesis war that will keep on going on forever.
I have a question.
Yes, Ultrox.
Does this staff have any real importance, or is it just a staff that so happens to have God in it?
It's just a staff that so happens to have God in it.
Beautiful.
That High Father can
staff.
That High Father can sometimes consult with. Of course, it's more like it's not like a magical artifact where you can always talk to God, because as I described God beforehand, he's off doing other stuff. So it's more like a phone call where High Father hopes he can get God when he talks to the stick, and the stick just won't reply because God's busy. But
just like my stepdad.
Oh.
Okay.
Well, okay. Moving on.
Moving on. So at this point, Volthoom... Never mind. At this point... At this point...
Timelines.
At this point, the Maltusians are upset because they feel responsible for the creation of the multiverse and kind of pissing off God at the beginning of time because Krona did it. So they decide that it's their goal to protect the universe. So they become known as the Guardians of the Universe. They discover Earth. They discover this powerful energy source on Earth, which is the life entity at the core. And they're like, oh god, we found this magical being that's like the source of all life. That might be important. They do experiments on it and end up creating other entities, like this green entity called Ion, which represents the power of willpower. This yellow entity called Parallax, that represents the power of fear. And they're like, oh, we just created magical beings that represent these emotions, and they're powered by the emotional electromagnetic spectrum that we've been trained all our lives to do.
Put them in a ring.
So, the Guardians realize that Earth is going to be a target for anyone who hates life, because everyone's going to be coming, because, you know, the universe is a big place. There's some evil people out there that want to kill life. And if you can kill the life entity, bada bing, bada boom. It's like I don't think if you kill the life entity, all life dies, but it's still a massive screw you to existence. It's more of a poetic kill than anything. But the Guardians start saying, alright, we gotta make sure nobody goes to Earth. We're going to decide, since we've developed this network across the universe, Maltus is at the center of the universe, we sort of have a monopoly on the maps of the universe industry. We're going to leave Earth and the solar system off the maps. We're going to, and also we're going to put a big light show around Maltus and say, hey, life originated here. We're at the center of the universe. Life came here. If you want to attack life, come here. Don't go to this random planet we've marked off the map. They create this satellite that orbits around Maltus because they know Maltus is going to be attacked throughout the ages, and so they want to monitor the planet. And this satellite is called OA. So there's a little bit of divergence here in the DC Comics. There's a lot of stuff here that shares the same name as stuff in DC Comics, but there's a little bit different stuff on it, like OA being a satellite orbiting Maltus. They rename Maltus to Planet Lantern because at this point Volthoom has helped them learn how to create a lantern core. Although they haven't fully developed it yet, it's in the conceptual stages of creating Green Lanterns, essentially. The Guardians do whatever they can do to leave Earth isolated from the galactic community. They leave it off maps. And this is supposed to explain why, throughout all these years, all these billions of years of, like, empires and aliens off doing whatever, nobody's really gone to Earth. Earth's still fine in the 21st century without fully realizing that aliens exist. Meanwhile, the 13 fight Unicron, blah, blah, blah. Am I skipping anything here? Blah, blah, blah. Did we go to 4 million years ago? No, 200 million years ago. The Beyonders from beyond the universe, not sure which universe they come from, they visit Earth. I know that the last point was literally the Guardians do whatever they can to make sure aliens don't come to Earth. Aliens are still going to come to Earth, but they're going to be in smaller numbers. You're not going to see an empire come over and take over Earth. The Beyonders from beyond the universe pop up. They take this alien race called the Nuwali to create this place called the Savage Land on Earth, which in Marvel Comics is in Antarctica. In the Cuckoo universe, it's just somewhere in Arizona. But it's
a fucking cult ship.
Yes. The Savage Land is this area where they pretty much preserve as much prehistoric animals as they can. I don't think they exist yet, but eventually dinosaurs and Neanderthals will be here, and they will be preserved after the extinction event. So even in like 2012, there's still this random mountain area in Arizona where dinosaurs exist, and nobody's found it yet.
What?
But after the Beyonders have the Nuwali create the Savage Land, they have a different group of aliens called the Fortescuans, because you want to diversify your alien empire. They have the Fortescuans sort of have little troops set up in the Savage Land to protect the area. The Savage Land is sort of used as this arena for the Beyonders to be entertained until the Beyonders eventually mysteriously disappear. 10 million years ago is when we get the Celestials show up as an advanced civilization. They begin to experiment on intelligent beings, like the Kree and the Skrull, and the Skrulls in particular are much more technologically advanced. Also around this time, maybe not, a Cybertronian ship called Atlantis crashed down on Earth. I'm not entirely sure if I want to make that canon yet. We're moving kind of fast. Do we have any questions?
Not really a question. I have more of a statement thing. Like,
All
I came
right.
in this a little bit late.
All right.
Like, The entire time you were mentioning Prime, for some reason I just had you in my head.
Okay.
Like I know you're talking about, but I'm just imagining you just like the old you, like with the helmet, the Optimus Prime helmet, fighting this huge robot.
All right. So, 4 million years ago, the Autobot-Decepticon War begins. If you can't tell, I skipped a lot of Cybertronian history. We went from the 13 original Transformers to now there's Optimus Prime fighting Megatron. Whatever, it's not important. Let's see, now I had to skip over to my other timeline that's more complete at this part. Okay, I don't have this written down anywhere on my timeline, but I'll try to see if I can get it correct off the top of my head. About 3 million years ago, there's this Decepticon called Shockwave, who's like, we're gonna run out of resources on Cybertron with this fight going on, and Energon, our fuel, will eventually become this contended resource. So I'm gonna create all these magical ores containing different types of Energon, and just launch them out into space. They'll crash on all these planets across the universe, and I'll just visit each planet to synthesize them, and sort of cultivate Energon on other planets, so whenever this war is over, we can visit these planets and get our fuel back. One of these planets is Earth, because of course it is.
Question.
Yes, Twisted.
If they run out of fuel, how are they going to get to the other planets to get the fuel?
Right.
I'll shut up.
I never
Wait, did you
thought.
not hear me?
No, I just never thought of that.
We're out of fuel. Fuck, let's drive 14 million light years to go to some more fuel.
Did they just expend all of their fuel getting to the other fuels?
Shit, I guess we gotta live here now.
I think the assumption is we'll have a little. If we run out of fuel entirely, then we're screwed anyway once this war is over. We don't even need to think about trying to get over. We'd be too busy trying to live on Cybertron. Assuming we have enough fuel to run a ship over to another planet to get that Energon, then we're good.
It's a casual trip to the Quickie Mart, you know?
So yeah, one of the planets he seeds with Energon is Earth. There's something hinted at that it might be... The reason a lot of stuff ends up crashing on Earth is because the life entity is there and things are just naturally drawn to it, but I'm not fully certain if I want to develop that. So Shockwave... At some point, Shockwave fights this group of Autobots called the Dinobots, who he pisses off. One day, Shockwave goes to Earth to sort of synthesize the Energon there. The Dinobots, on a revenge quest, go over to Earth. Because of how strong the Energon radiation is on Earth, Shockwave has a cloaking device on him. It doesn't make him invisible, but it makes him immune to Energon radiation. The Dinobots don't have that, so they give themselves synthetic organic skin in the form of the local life, the dinosaurs. By the way, Dinobots is spelled D-Y-N-O at this stage. Once they become dinosaurs, then it's D-I-N-O. Haha.
I have a question. Why?
Yes, Ultrox.
Why?
Why what?
Well, why did they change their name?
Because they turned to dinosaurs, and it's cool
It
that
was-
way.
it was- Originally, I would guess they were named for like dynamos, like the moving mechanical parts.
Dynamos, yeah.
It's okay.
Then they got scaling and had teeth. Dinosaurs. Yeah, sure,
Yeah.
why not?
Ignoring the fact that the term dinosaur didn't exist then.
They made it up. It's fine. They're
I mean,
originators.
to be fair, it's all in English somehow. When English hasn't been invented yet, let's just assume it's translation.
Yes. So the Dinobots go down to Earth, fight Shockwave. They eventually get stuck in like the tar pits of the Savage Land, because this is where the fight takes place. They end up stuck on the Savage Land, fall into stasis lock, never to be heard from again until 2012. But
No.
let's see. Also, at some point, Starscream goes on an exploration mission, and he and his friend Skyfire visit Earth. Skyfire crashes somewhere near Arizona, and Starscream just goes, I lost my friend, whatever, goes back to Cybertron.
Yeah, that's how I feel when I lose friends.
I have a question.
He doesn't seem like a very good friend.
No.
Yes, Dreadcore.
Did Starscream go on to get the Worst Friend of the Year award on from the Decepticons?
I actually think it might have happened before the war broke out. No, it couldn't have. I have a document somewhere with the exact date, exact year that happened. I just can't remember off the top of my head. I think it happened before the war broke out.
Well, the history
Oh,
book
well,
show
that, in
us
that
it
case, from all of the Transformers.
Yeah, everyone's like, this scientist sucks. Okay, one of my timelines ran out, so now I'm just stuck on relying on the other timeline. Let's see.
That happens sometimes.
1 million years ago, the Celestials, who are still going around experimenting on people, show up on Earth. And they're like, hey, what's up? We Celestials reproduce by sticking an egg in the middle of the planet. And that egg takes like 1 million years to fully wait until it gets hatched. So we're going to stick this egg in this planet, and we need people to defend it. So we're going to experiment on a few of these... We're going to experiment...
Wait,
Question.
I have a question.
Twisted.
Alright. Wasn't there already a dude in the middle of the planet?
Alright, there's already an egg. They just bury it.
No. What? A dude drifted through space, got a bunch of rock material, and he created Earth.
Yes, that's the life entity.
Okay. And they're gonna shove this egg, rape style, into this planet.
Well, it's not like towards the... It's not the core of the planet. It's like... It's still in the
underneath
crust.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alright, Dreadcore.
You said the center. I was like, what?
I was actually going to ask a similar question, so
Yeah.
good.
Oh, okay.
I probably...
I was also going to ask a similar question.
Alright, yeah.
A fallacy
question.
so
Good
huge,
question.
everybody in class goes, whoa,
Whoa,
wait a
hold
minute.
on there. Alright.
So these Celestials aren't smart enough to realize that this is the life source.
Yes, they have not realized that the life entity's in there.
Because the maps tell them otherwise.
They didn't have their life sensors jacked on, you know.
I mean, whoa. Phrasing.
Okay, sure.
I mean,
Crazy.
I think jacking with somebody's life sensor is not a great idea.
So the Celestials are... They're like, alright,
Know
we
where this
really
fuck
want to
was
protect our egg. So a celestial egg is a very crucial thing. People hunt celestial eggs. So we need to create a race of people. We need to experiment on these humans and create a race of people that are strong enough to defend the egg. Maybe not too strong, but like strong enough in numbers. So they experiment with these people and create
Ants.
an X gene that basically it does nothing at this stage, but when the egg is about to hatch, the gene will start to appear in these people, and that's where we get the mutants. But
That's
the
what I
mut-
thought you were about to say.
Let's see. A group of serpent men.
What?
You know every good sentence starts with that. A group of serpent... There's this ancient race, you know, like the Neanderthals show up, humanity shows
You know
up,
what?
but the serpent men also show up.
I've been with you this entire time, but Serpent Man might be where I draw the line.
All right.
Mutants fine. A dude means in the universe fine. Two robots just floating around eating planets, fine. Half planet, that's fine. Snake people, that's where I'm drawing the line.
Well, you'll like where this is going.
Oh shit.
So there's a reason we've never heard of the ancient race of the Serpent Men. The Serpent Men
Good.
have organized. They're very much into hierarchy. They're very tribal. They go up to the Celestials. They're obsessed with power, and the Serpent Men beg the Celestials to experiment on them to give them powers. And the Celestials are like, look at you. You're an abomination. You're like this part snake, part human thing. Disgusting. Get
I
out
get
of
it.
here. And the Serpent Men become jealous of humanity because they got experimented on by the Celestials, against their will, might I add. So the Serpent Men are like, we vow to
Shit,
become
you raped them. I want to be raped as well.
the Serpent
I have a
Men...
question.
Yes, Dreadcore.
Weren't the wasn't intelligent life that evolved closer to the life entity supposed to be more similar to God, aka humans?
Yeah, and there's two human-type races, Neanderthals and humanity, on the planet right now. I think we can throw in one serpent race.
Just so happened, you know, they just got the short end of the stick.
They just yeah.
So the Serpent Men run off to like the secluded hills of the freaking Himalayas or whatever, and they're banished from the humans. Hate them. The Celestials hate them. The Serpent Men vow to be the enemies of society. They go up into the Himalayas and develop a secret society called Cobra Law.
No.
Yes.
No, Christ.
I thought they were going to be the lizard people.
Lizard people. If
Are
I don't
they,
even
are they gonna have a commander, by chance?
know.
Oh my god!
I'll get to the point because I don't know if we'll get to the point in this, get to where this is going in this episode. But ultimately, Cobra Law, by the time the Roman Empire is around, so pretty far in the future from 1 million years ago, there are going to be humans who are going to be ousted from Roman society. People the Romans don't like. Thieves, beggars, whatever. There's just this small cast of people that are unwanted.
Relax.
Cobra Law sees them as an opportunity. They go up to them, they visit these thieves in Rome and bring them together and says, you can fight society, human society, from the shadows. You just need to work together, be authoritative, and just have a commander. And then
my god.
They basically use these people.
Just asked.
They use these humans as a sort of proxy organization. Eventually, these groups of humans eventually forget that there's this snake society that's secretly supporting them from the shadows, because they're going to be the society there's a shadowy society in the shadows supporting another society in the shadows that will in turn support like domestic terrorism and stuff like that. But this group,
I remember asking a very specific question: is there going to be a commander? You said no. Then you went. We'll continue.
You asked if the snake people are going to have a commander. Snake people don't have a commander. The humans that the snake people are supporting have a commander.
Exactly, and that's how we get Cobra. But
no.
yes, but we'll get to Cobra eventually. So let's see. Around this time, still 1 million years ago, the Skrulls are pretty technologically advanced. They developed their Skrull Empire. They like the idea that they learned from the Celestials of just going around experimenting on people. The Skrulls discover two races: the Kree, who had already been experimented on the Celestials to some extent, and the Kotati. And they decide that they're going to do this test. They tell them, whoever creates something the most valuable, you will get to share our technology. So the Kree and the Kotati go to the moon, because the Skrull Empire is kind of close to the solar system. They find the moon on Earth, well, orbiting Earth. They go to the moon and it's like, alright, do the best you can. The Kree create this special area on the moon called the Blue Area, where you can breathe. A place on the moon where you can breathe. It operates as a normal base. The Kotati move in and create wildlife. They create plants, trees, animals, what have you. The Skrulls take a look at... The Skrulls send their, like, freaking competition representatives over to the Blue Area, and they take a look like, Skrulls, it was Kree, it was amazing you created this place, but the Kotati created life here. So we're going to give our technology and then the Skrull people the Kree people get pissed off that the Skrulls pick the Kotati over them. So the Kree kill the Skrulls, take their technology for themselves, wipe out the Kotati, and they use the Skrull technology to build up their own Kree empire on the other side of the solar system. So we get the Kree-Skrull war going on over here.
I have a question.
Yes, Dreadcore.
Wasn't the Skrull picking the Kotati over the Kree kind of dick move, but the Kree doing that to them was also kind of a dick move, correct?
Correct.
Okay, correct.
I have a question.
Yes,
They
Ultrox.
created life without being able to breathe?
No, they made it inside the area that the Kree made, which was kind of...
They
that was
put it
kind of
in
cheating.
the other guys.
They put it in the Blue Area, yes.
Wow.
It was cheating. It was a dick move. Everyone made dick moves. So many dick moves.
Yes, it's this whole moral question. But as a result of this war, the Blue Area gets wiped out of life, but you can still breathe in the Blue Area. The Blue Area will be important later on. It's just, in Marvel, the Blue Area becomes sort of the base for the Inhumans. I don't mess around with that Inhuman crap in the Cuckoo universe. The Blue Area is going to become a Nazi base, so just hold on for that. So the Kree-Skrull War happened, and they're really... hardcore fighting. They eventually get a truce, but if you look at a map of the Skrull Empire and the Kree Empire, the solar system is sort of like the Korean DMZ. You have these two countries, two empires wanting to be at war with each other, but they set up the solar system as this sort of demilitarized zone. Nobody may enter the solar system. So not only is the solar system not on the map, people who do know about the solar system know that it's in the middle of the freaking DMZ of the I said it again. The Skrull Empire and the Kree Empire. So this is just building up levels upon levels as to why Earth was never really thrust into the galactic community at any point in this time period. So, still one... Oh, and Uatu the Watcher temporarily uses the blue area to watch Earth for a little bit.
Creepy.
So now we're getting into the freaking... I made a Commander's Cabin video about this, where I watched this really stupid conspiracy theory video when I was in high school, and I thought, it's so stupid, it's so ridiculous, it would fit in the Cuckoo universe perfectly, and it wouldn't feel out of place at all. So I stuck it in the Cuckoo universe. So get ready for some weird crap going on here. 1 million years... I guess that's true. 1 million years ago, Mars. Martians are a people, by the way. They're all green. Think Martian Manhunter from DC Comics. The Martians, a group of Martians, want to create a new reality. So they create what is called the Lucifer experiment, where they try to create a new reality. The experiment fails, and their devices blow up, and it causes this weird magic's a thing, by the way. It's sort of a blend of magic and technology, but the magical element goes wrong. It curses a significant portion of the Martian population, and it makes them more full of rage, more barbaric, more sort of evil-ish. And they become...
I have a question.
Yes, Dreadcore.
Well, less question, more a statement. No, actually, it is a statement. I think I've seen the video you're talking about, and it's fucking crazy.
It's out there. It's crazy. But I try to tie it more into the Cuckoo universe here because the aggressive Martians end up becoming so different from the main types of Martians that they become genetically different. They become known as the White Martians, while the normal Martians, which are now a minority, are called the Green Martians. The White Martians begin to hunt down the Green Martians, and it's just utter chaos on Mars. We go to 40,000 BCE. The planet Nirabu crashes into Earth.
That was random.
So,
alright.
How to get Earth?
So Nirabu is this drifting planet where you have this like magical race called the Anunnaki living on it. They're just drifting throughout the galaxy. Just sort of, whenever they hit a planet, they stop by and try to mine some of its resources and carry on. 40,000 BCE, Nirabu crashes into Earth. It's not like a major crash, it's more like when your car slightly bumps into another car.
I have a question.
Yes, Dreadcore.
How large is this planet?
I don't know.
I have a question.
Yes, Ultrox.
Is it just magic that this planet is not affected by gravity?
Well, drifting planets are a thing, right?
Yeah, but they're not. They're just. That's because they're just sitting in space somewhere, not really near anything else.
Now, I guess they would be affected by gravity if they entered the solar system.
Planets either.
They don't just play tag with planets.
So Nirabu crashes into Earth slightly, doing no major damage. Nirabu crashes into Earth so we can say it crashed into Earth because it sounds cool, but we don't want to leave behind any archaeological evidence because that will create some plot holes as to why Earth is normal. So 50 of the Anunnaki sort of jump from Nirabu. They don't jump, they fly on a ship or whatever. 50 Anunnaki leave Nirabu and go to Earth. They enslave some of the humans to gather Earth's resources. Moving over to 30,000 BCE, we're on an entirely different topic. We'll get back to the Anunnaki and the enslavement of some of the humans. 30,000 BCE, the War of the New Gods. Apocalypse and New Genesis are still going at it at this point. Darkseid and Highfather are like, alright, we need to put a pause on this. We need to trade sons, because that's the best way to conduct a peace treaty. Darkseid, you send me your son, and Highfather will send him... I don't know why I used the second person you there. Darkseid will send Highfather's... So Darkseid has a son named Orion, he sends to Highfather. Highfather has a son named Scot-Free, who he sends to Darkseid. And supposedly, by trading sons, they won't go to war again. They go to war again. But this time they just have each other's sons. Highfather takes Orion, who's very full of rage and kind of a jerk because he's Darkseid's son. Highfather trains Orion to start to become a more caring person. Meanwhile, Scott-free Highfather's son is stuck on Apocalypse. You have this person called Granny Goodness sticks him in a cage, sticks him in all these different situations where he's in traps and stuff, and Scott just keeps trying to escape, and he ends up becoming a master at escape. He becomes an escape artist, but he still can't fully escape the planet yet. Let's see. Scott-free, it tries to save Apocalypse multiple times, always fails. Granny Goodness eventually wipes out his mind and redubs him as Warzone. She uses magic to make him be like child-aged. He was like freaking 18 or whatever, biologically speaking, not necessarily years speaking, but turned him into like a 13-year-old in our terms, and then mind wiped him to become a weapon of war called Warzone. 26,000 BCE. The Ice Age begins around this time, and the Anunnaki are freaking freezing, so they're just like, screw this, I'm out of here. They go back to Nirabu, and they free the...
Fuck this, I want summer!
They free the humans, and the humans are like, okay, we sort of bonded together with this whole enslavement experience. Let's work together. So they go to the continent of Lemuria, which is a thing, until Atlantis rises from the sea and sort of supplements Lemuria. And so basically all of humanity is living on one continent in the about where the Atlantic Ocean is. And again, I'm still not sure if Atlantis is actually a Cybertronian ship, but let's ignore that.
I have a question.
Yes, Ultrox.
This happened during the Ice Age.
Yes.
Can I just make a statement here?
Yes.
Actually, it is a question. I have a question.
Yes, Ultrox.
What killed the dinosaurs? Wait for it.
Oh no!
What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age. Yeah. No.
In the Cuckoo universe, 65 million years ago, an asteroid hit Earth that killed all the dinosaurs, except for the Savage Land.
So the Ice Age didn't kill the dinosaurs in Nevada.
No.
Ice Age
Arizona.
Ice Age killed the movie franchise, but...
Oh, hold on, guys. I found another timeline.
Oh no!
Yeah!
I'm trying to corroborate all my different timelines together into one
Oh
timeline.
shit, I made up another timeline, guys. Hang on.
Okay, this timeline has
Let's
more
see
about
plot holes we have
Atlantis.
here.
I have a question.
Yes,
or not a
straightforward.
question, a statement.
Yes, straightforward.
This is you trying to stick all these timelines together is kind of reminding me of the Flashpoint event in DC. Just kinda
yeah.
squish those together.
That's very true. Let's see. Atlantis, blah, blah, blah. Magic's a thing that I should have mentioned earlier, so whenever things happen by magic, just don't question it. There's a group of humans called the Nicals that are magical. They're under the authority of this dude called Thome, as in like the Egyptian god. And they create residential areas in the design of the Tree of Life across Atlantis that magically draws humans to these locations to sort of design how people are going to live on Atlantis. Poseidon is made as the capital of Atlantis, with the Nicals leading Atlantis. One location on the Tree of Life is left open, and you still have the Atlantean magic, or really the Nicali magic, drawing someone to that empty spot, that vacancy on Lemuria. on Atlantis. So let's go back to Mars, where the white Martians are killing each other. The Martian atmosphere is destroyed. A group of white Martians are like, alright, we gotta get out of here. We created this warp drive, this teleporter effectively called the Merkaba Pyramid, and they teleport it. They don't know where they're going to end up, but because of the Nicol magic, they pop up on Atlantis. So they brief the Martians. Actually, immediately after that, group of white Martians flee Mars and end up on Atlantis. A group of alien invaders called the Invaders attack Mars.
Oh. This was Zur and them come in like fucking Invader Zim and all that?
No, they're just like, they're very abstract looking. It's hard to describe the physical appearance of these
Wait,
aliens.
are you telling me that we have Jackson Pollock painting as like aliens?
Sure, I think they're closer to like War of the Worlds type aliens, but
Oh shit, no, fuck that, man. I'd take back Jackson Pollock. I really not understand them. They just fucking see fucking.
But what the invaders do, the invaders are almost
Fuck
like
that.
a plague of aliens, just massive, huge murder things. They've actually, if I have a galactic map of the Cuckoo universe, and the invaders kind of originated at one point mysteriously, and you can just see the direction they just carved out through the galaxy, just wiping out all life. They go to Mars. The border of the invader empire isn't really that close to the solar system. This is just like a vanguard unit, I guess, because they're gonna wipe out Mars, but they're not gonna touch the solar system again until like 2010. So the invaders wipe out all of Mars. Martian Manhunter, John Jones or whatever his name is pronounced, is just running away as his family dies. He gets dragged from that point in time to the present. We'll get to that later. Let's see. Martian Civil War. Invaders attack Martian population. 25,000 BCE. The white Martians who have arrived on Atlantis want to take over Atlantis because it's in their nature to take over everything. They begin the first Martian-Atlantean war, but the Atlanteans, through sheer numbers, defeat the technologically superior Martians. The Martians, after losing the war, decide, okay, we'll live in peace and we'll try to understand your culture. But while they say that, they start to get more and more power politically through the democratic process on Atlantis. They also share some of their technology with the Atlanteans. 16,000 BCE. A meteor is beginning to approach Earth. The white Martians want to destroy it, but the Atlanteans are sort of in a religious phase where they believe that nature must take its course, and so they're like, who cares if the meteor hits Earth? It's what God wants to happen. So they begin a rebellion. Again, they defeat the Martians through sheer numbers, and the white Martians are forced to say, okay, fine, I'll sit back, we'll let the meteor hit Earth, maybe nothing bad will happen. 13,000 BCE, the meteor not only hits Earth, it hits the section where the white Martians are living, and kills a large portion of the white Martian population.
I have a question.
Yes, Dreadcore.
First of all, shouldn't they have seen this coming? And second of all, couldn't they have just gone somewhere else once they saw it coming?
They did see it coming. That's what the whole second Martian-Atlantean war was about.
Obviously, but
the Martians don't have the tech. In fact, this gets to the point. The white Martians were pissed off that that a lot of their population was destroyed because the Atlanteans wanted it to happen. They prepared for the third Martian-Atlantean war and tried to rebuild the technology they had back on Mars because they didn't have a Merkaba pyramid to teleport away from the planet. They build that they haven't built one in a long time, so they try to build it, they fail, and a Merkaba pyramid, which is a combination of science and magic, when that fails, that's what caused the destruction on Mars in the first place. It fails, it causes this rip in the lower dimensions that causes all these lower dimensional spirits to seep through, and just causes a crisis. Where the Merkaba pyramid that went wrong is today is near the Bermuda Triangle. So there's that cliche.
of course.
The Nakals eventually use their magic to seal up the lower dimensions, and humanity eventually enters a religious period where they start to ask for assistance from God. Let's see, 12,000 BCE. At this point, the head of Atlantis is Thoth, as in the Egyptian god. Although I think he's been hit with the God Wave, yeah. So that's why he's the god. Thoth creates what's called the Christ Consciousness Grid. Now, the Spirit Science video of this thing said the Christ Consciousness Grid was like this subconscious thing that binded all humans together. I don't go as crazy as the Spirit Science video did. In the original Spirit Science video, the Jews come from space and the future. I'm not going to put that in the Cuckoo universe.
Please do. Oh, yeah, I would love that.
Work it in somewhere.
So, Thoth, the Christ Consciousness Grid in the Cuckoo universe is meant to be like a literal protection grid around the planet of energy. Although the Transformers have their grid across the planet, it's more fueled by Energon. Thoth fuels it with spiritual, magical energy. Not spiritual, just magical energy. And the points where the grid emerges from are like all the pyramids and stuff like that. There's that cliche. Also, the Giza pyramid has a ship in it to defend Earth. It's only used once, but
I
whatever.
think that was confirmed in the Michael Bay movie,
Oh, yeah.
wasn't it?
Yes,
So-
that's of course it was.
So Thoth creates the Christ consciousness grid to get the attention of God. He says that Earth will be like a shining beacon in the heavens that even God must look at. Because if you remember, God in this universe doesn't care about anything. He's just wandering around, going to whatever is the most shiny. And Thoth wants to...
The autistic God. Look over there! Oh, it's so shiny!
So Thoth makes this grid...
God wave!
To get God's attention. But to do it, it comes at a price, and that price is all of humanity's memories and Atlantis. So he creates the Christ consciousness grid, activates it once, everyone loses their memories, the grid turns off, Atlantis sinks into the ground, humanity scatters across all the other continents again, and for all they know, all that crap about Thoth and the Christ consciousness grid and the Martians never happened. So that's why we don't... Yes, Stridcore.
What? Why? Why?
Just why is the question.
Just why? I don't know if I can answer that question. The Nakals, by the way, the super magical people on Atlantis, they see Atlantis sing like, oh, I'm out of here. They go to Bolivia, Tibet, and Egypt, where all the cliches happen.
Of course.
Through the power of magic, the Atlanteans, those who stay on Atlantis, manage to survive. They get their Atlantean powers, and they set up a monarchy. They believe that Atlantis was originally a continent that was always on the surface and not potentially a Cybertronian ship. And they believe that it sank one day, and that the Atlanteans were able to stay alive with their magic. They set up a monarchy, and this is where we get the same sort of Atlantis we associate more with Aquaman type deal. 12,000 BCE. Okay. At that point, that timeline ends. 2630 BCE. The Thanagarians arrive. I forget. Okay. There's this whole historical conspiracy with the Thanagarians. The Hawk people think Hawkman stuff. I don't remember it off the top of my head because I only wrote that recently in a 2018 story. But essentially what happened was there was Thanagar, a planet that had a bunch of Hawk people who really liked military conquest and stuff, and they were near this planet called Ron, and Ron and Thanagar kept going to war, and eventually the Hawk people decide to blow up Thanagar, run away to Thanagar Prime to make the Ronians think that the Thanagarians were wiped out. Meanwhile, the Thanagarians would live on this new planet called Thanagar Prime and build up their weapons to fight Ron. And once they're at full strength, launch their final attack at their nemesis or whatever. None of them are exactly evil. They're just two planets. There are good guys on both sides. But the thing about Thanagar is there's this gladiator dude called Qatar Hall, and he falls in love with the princess Shiera Hall, and they get together. Shiera's brother becomes this king. On Thanagar Prime, they discover this resource called Nth Metal, which is this magical metal that will have implications for future stories that I don't want to spoil. The king of Thanagar Prime, the brother of Shiera Hall, starts pretty much making some slaves, enslaving some Thanagarians to work in the mines to get the metal. Qatar Hall, who was a gladiator, he was part of the lower classes, he visits the mine, sees what's going on, is like, oh, I don't like this. And then the king's like, so I don't care what you think. And then the king starts to attack him. Qatar Hall defends himself, ends up making a mace out of the nth metal in the mines, accidentally kills the king of Thanagar. And he's like, oh crap, that's not good. His wife / princess / heir to the throne, Shiera Hall, all she knows is that her husband just killed the king, her brother. So she orders the arrest of Qatar Hall. Qatar is like, oh, I'm getting out of here. Goes on a ship, runs away to Earth, ends up in Egypt before Shiera Hall catches up to him. They fight. They eventually learn the truth about, how the king was keeping slaves. They forgive each other, but this is like at the end of their battle where they're both fatally wounded by their nth metal weapons. Nth metal is sort of a wild card metal, and it just has random effects. The effects it has on Shiera and Qatar is that they end up reincarnating on Earth, and they're sort of cursed to find each other, fall in love, and then die again. So throughout all of human history, you have this cycle of Qatar and Shayera meeting each other, dying, being reincarnated, all on Earth. The Thanagarians are still searching for their queen. They keep searching the galaxy. They arrive on Earth sometimes. They visit the pyramids. They carve Thanagarian. They carve this like hieroglyphic story of Thanagar on inside the pyramids. That will be important later on.
I have a question.
Yes, Dreadcore.
Is Romeo and Juliet one of the reincarnations?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay.
That would be really cool, though.
That actually is a good idea.
Yeah, legitimate. That's what's really good. Like that.
Let's see.
He's jotting down a note.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that's a good idea. Okay.
So, the Roman Empire is established. Cobra gets established. So let's talk about Cobra. We know how Cobra Law set them up to sort of create chaos in humanity. Cobra, the organization, the human organization itself, eventually forgets that they were set up by this evil snake organization. The way they see it, they were created during the times of the Roman empires. They worked out of the shadows, and they had their commander, and it's always a commander's chosen for each generation. And ultimately, the Cobra plan is to become the shadowy organization that's pulling the strings of society, and the ultimate goal is to take over the world in the shadows. That's the thing with Cobra. So, 45 BCE, Julius Caesar creates the Champion of Rome system. Now, how long have I been going? Let's see. 1 hour, 36 minutes. All right. 45 BCE. So, an important part of Roman culture is the gladiators. See, we're starting to enter actual history here. We're starting to slowly get to the modern era, eventually. 45 BCE. Gladiators is an important part of Roman society. Julius Caesar decides, hey, let's kick up the ante. Let's have this Champion of Rome system. We have all these different provinces. Let's have these tournaments in every single province to determine who's the strongest gladiator of each province. And then we'll have the gladiator, the champion of each province, come to Rome for a showdown to see who's the strongest of the entire Roman Empire. And this is called the Champion of Rome system. If you defeat the champion of any province, you get his title. If you lose, they get the title, and so on. But the goal is to become the Champion of Rome. And once if the Champion of Rome is ever defeated, then like you could just sit back, watch all the fighting go on, and then wait until the Champion of Rome is made, and then just beat up the Champion of Rome, and then you're the Champion of Rome. You don't have to go through the effort of gaining all the titles. But,
so Gladiator's part of this.
Gladiators are a historical fact. I mean,
No. I'm just talking about the movie Gladiator.
I've actually never seen.
Yada, yada, yada.
I've never actually seen the movie Gladiator.
I think I would like it actually. It's really, really kind of good, really good movie.
So, all right, so 44 BC. Julius Caesar is, pretty powerful. He has the authority to create this system where everyone's killing each other across Rome. The Roman Senate is worried about Julius Caesar gaining power. They're like, all right, you know what? We have to stop. One man shouldn't have so much power. We need to kill him. And so the entire Roman Senate gets together and is like, we shall be... Now, I want to be clear. This is going to sound a lot like Assassin's Creed. I had not played or even really heard of Assassin's Creed before I wrote this story. So, there is a lot of plagiarizing, a lot of ripping off going on in the Cuckoo universe. This is the one place where it's just purely coincidental. So,
Wait, I have a question.
Yes, Ultrox.
Are you saying Assassin's Creed isn't a part of the Cuckoo universe?
Assassin's Creed isn't part of the Cuckoo universe.
Gosh dang.
Though there are a lot of similarities
and
to
then we
these.
rage.
A rip-off version of Assassin's Creed is in the Cuckoo universe. So,
Nah, technically, since you did it first, Assassin's Creed is a rip-off of Cuckoo universe.
well, I hadn't heard of Assassin's Creed, but I'm sure the Assassin's Creed games existed at that point in time.
What time? When was this made?
This would be Conquest. This would be... I would be in middle school. Sometime in my middle school years. I don't know the exact.
Okay, well,
exact
I'm gonna
dates.
go out there and say that the first Assassin's Creed game came out when I was in like sixth grade.
The original Assassin's Creed came out in 2007.
that'll be about. Yeah, I'll be all right. Yeah. So. Yeah. So yeah, I think you plagiarizing Assassin's Creed whether you knew it or not.
Oh boy. So the Roman Senate gets together and says, we will form what is called the Brotherhood of Assassins. It'll be a genetic thing. We are a secret society that will assassinate really powerful people. And the people obviously will die. The way you become an assassin is you're born into the assassins. So
Excuse
the brother...
me?
Yes.
They're descended from this first civilization.
They are not descended from the first... We stop at the Roman Senate. That's as early as the assassins exist in the Cuckoo universe. So, the
Well, that's also how long they were in the freaking Assassin's Creed.
Like I said, there is a lot of coincidences here.
Assassin's Creed probably stole that off of you, though. That's a recent thing.
So, the Brotherhood of Assassins assassinates Julius Caesar, and that's how the Brotherhood of Assassins is born. One of the assassins is a dude named Appius Pratensis, and he will be... It's not that he's important, his bloodline will be important later on. So
it's fucking what's his name, Miles from the Assassin's Creed game.
Desmond.
Desmond, there it is. Yeah, Desmond. He's not really important at all.
Desmond Miles. I mean, you were both right.
Yes, but he said his last name, which was weird.
Unless I'm being more formal.
Then you would have said Mr. Miles.
Not that formal, just a little more formal.
Mr. Miles is his father.
His father was a dick.
He was important. His father's a dick, though.
Alright, so 33 CE, Jesus Christ dies. So,
Oh, jeez!
Oh, God.
The space Jews did it again!
Space Jews. So at
The
some
future
point,
space Jews! Oh.
so at some point, stuff has gone down enough on Earth that God has finally noticed Earth, and he realizes that there is the religious phase going on Earth, and he decides to create himself a son, send it down to Earth, to sort of experiment, like, okay, these humans, maybe they're not so bad. I've seen so much death and destruction on Earth. I'll create my only son, send him to Earth. Jesus Christ gets killed 33 years later. Crucified on the...
The least amount of, like, time jump we've seen so far. May I add, this 33-year jump is the least the smallest jump I've seen while I've been here.
Oh yeah, we haven't.
Because it'd be like, oh, 3 million years, oh, 100,000 years, 30 years. Oh,
No wonder God becomes a dick. He sends his son down and he dies 33 years.
Yes.
come on, it took you like 3 million years to grow this little egg person in the middle of your planet, and then, oh look, my son, here it is. It'll take him at least like 10,000. I don't know, 33 years. Okay.
So
Well.
yeah. So God decides to give humanity a chance. We kill his only son. So God is pissed at humanity. So what he does is he takes the hill of Calvario, which is the location where Jesus Christ was crucified, moves it outside of space and time, plants a royal garden, creates a castle, creates this device called the Mirror Celestial Sphere, which is used to watch Earth, and sends down angels to that place outside of space and time to always watch Earth. And he pretty much tells these angels, and the head of the angels is this girl called Hera, no relation to the Greek god Hera. He tells Hera, watch Earth, just if they do something completely stupid, let me know, and I'll just rain down.
Like trying to kill my
them.
son again.
Yeah, so...
The burning
So-
bush.
So then God completely abandons Earth, because he doesn't want to visit Earth ever again. He just leaves Hera pretty much as a viceroy. No other planet, by the way, has someone else appointed by God to watch the planet, because he doesn't want to look at the planet ever again.
So there.
Question, isn't this like the most important planet?
Yes.
And he just leaves an angel there.
Pronounced most important.
So Hera is left in command in this castle with around... I have a number of how many soldiers were sent there. I don't know why I didn't write it on the timeline. But it has all these Royal Guard soldiers. They're called the Royal Guard of the Heavenly Soldiers. One of the angels, called Hephaestus, no link to the Greek god, forges 2 swords. One's called Yuki and one's called Masayoshi. By the way, this is from my middle school phase, so expect a lot of Japanese names, a lot of edginess. That's why we have two
Oh.
swords called the Yuki and Masayoshi.
There's no relation at all. Even though Hephaestus is actually forging like the
Again,
god.
middle school phase. When you're in middle school, you think it's cool to just give Greek god names to someone and make them do something similar to what that Greek god did.
Okay.
No
okay.
relation.
Yeah, fair. No relations.
So the Yuki and Masayoshi, that's Japanese for courage and justice. They represent courage and justice because those are cool tropes to talk about when you're a middle schooler and not cliche whatsoever.
Edgy.
Oh yeah.
No, that's not edgy yet. That's cliched, not edgy.
Cliche,
That's not
yeah.
edgy.
So basically, it's the backside of the fucking katana. I'm gonna cut myself with this, but that's the dull side. My life is pain.
I guess. So 871 CE, Lucifer sends his... Okay, so Lucifer, who's been chilling in hell all this time, or rather not chilling, is like, alright, you know, Earth killed God's only son. Maybe this planet isn't so bad. So he visits Earth.
Hey, yeah, 33 years, you killed him, man. Hey, you know what?
He's like, maybe this is the place for me. So he creates his only son and sends it to Earth, and he's cherished as a great figure. And his name is Merlin Hellspawn, who works with the English King Arthur.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
That is.
Shall pull
great.
this from the stone.
So, all the King Arthur stuff happens. There's 21 Knights of the Round Table. By the time 871 rolls around, Merlin's on his deathbed, and he's like, thank you. You took me in even though you knew me. I was the son of Satan, and I was loved on this planet. So, unlike what happened with Jesus. So...
Remember that dick? He made you some nice furniture, right? Wasn't nice for long. What an ass.
So Merlin's like, as thanks for caring about this old wizard, I'm going to give King Arthur and all the Knights of the Round Table magical powers, and all their descendants will carry a bit of that magical power too. So he gives them gives them magic, and all their descendants have magic. He wants to hide magic because magic isn't exactly public knowledge, so he uses his magic to wipe the mind of the world to think that King Arthur was just a legend and replace some of the major historical events with a, air quotes, historical King Alfred. All the history you know is a lie. So Merlin dies, that's that. 895 CE. We're in the Dark Ages, but some people still want to capture the glory of Rome. So King Harthanut I of Denmark, which is a historical king. Don't laugh at the name Harthanut.
I wasn't gonna laugh at it until you brought it back up. You know what? I didn't even think of it that way until you brought it back up.
Right. So the king of Denmark, we'll say, is like, I'm going to prove that I'm the greatest king since Rome fell. So I'm going to create... So Rome had the champion of Rome system. I'm going to up the ante by creating the champion of the world system. With, instead of every province of Rome having a champion, the entire world, each country has their own champion. And each champion of each country will have to fight each other to find out who's the champion of the world. Ignore how that's unfeasible at 871 CE. Yes, Ultrox.
Is this how Miss Universe was made?
No, believe it or not. But the champion of the world system works exactly like the champion of Rome system, with the exception of there's the champion of Italy. The champion of Italy, because Rome is where the champion system originated, they decided to give the title of the champion of Italy certain privileges. That is, there's a chamber underground in Rome called the Chamber of the Champion, and in that chamber lies pretty much all the records and history of the World Championship system. It has the location of all current champions, etc., etc. So pretty much the champion of Italy has hacks, but the champion of Italy never does anything besides keeps the records. Let's see. 1349 CE, the Black Plague hits England. The Spectre arrives from the future as an agent for Necron, then goes to World War I. That's irrelevant and it will just confuse you. Every now and then, there's a story arc where this dude called the Spectre is doing some time traveling shenanigans and pops up here and there. We'll skip that.
Yeah.
1614 CE is where we finally get the first champion of the world, and it's an Englishman named Richard de Cornwall. And Richard has been going around beating up people. He started off as the champion of England, defeated the champions of every country, and the final champion to fight was the champion of Japan. So he goes to Japan, at the far ends of, about as far from England as you can get, defeats the champion of Japan, forges, there's this magical forge in freaking Edo, which will be Tokyo, forges these two sai. I'm not even sure if the sai were around at that time, but forges two sai and gives them to the champion of Japan to safekeep for the next world champion. And he eventually dies, and he's the only person to become the world champion until the modern day. When the world champion dies of natural causes, every country gets a new champion. You have to do the whole process over again to decide who's the champion of each country.
Gundam G Fighter.
So 1744 CE. So we're starting to get to more modern society in 1744. The kidnapping of Kent Nelson. So in British America, there's this family called the Nelsons, and there's this little kid called Kent. They go to a museum, and for some reason this museum... This is a story from when I was in elementary school, by the way. The museum has this random sarcophagus with a lever that says, "Pull lever to release magical god." The little kid... the little kid, Kent Nelson, walks up to the sarcophagus, sees the lever, clearly able to be pulled, that says, "Release lever to release magical god," in this very public museum, pulls the lever, which causes this god of magic named Naboo to pop up. Magical gas fills the room and kills his family and everyone else in the museum. And Naboo's like, "Alright, Kent Nelson, you have released me, so I will teach you magic." Why nobody pulled this lever beforehand is beyond me. But,
so far, pretty good day. Family's dead, I get magical powers. Alright!
So Naboo takes in Kent Nelson, trains him to be a magician. Kent Nelson becomes Dr. Fate. 1784, the Illuminati forms. 1801, we can just skip the Illuminati being formed. Alright, 1784, the Enlightenment starting
Wait,
to pick
I thought
up.
that was already formed with the lizard people.
That would be the Serpent Men. Or the Cobra okay.
So there's two Illuminati like.
There's so many Illuminatis at this point. There's too many.
There's a lot of shadow organizations.
Don't
Moving
forget
on.
the Brotherhood of Assassins, and don't worry, even more shadowy organizations will show up.
I'm sure the Templar around here somewhere.
It's interesting. I really like to write the shadowy organization trope. I never do anything with it because you never really see the effects of these shadowy organizations, just beyond one dude will walk down an alley and see, "Oh, I actually walked into this cult." Like, there's never really any political ramifications for anything.
Okay, that's how the shadow organizations in every fictional universe go.
So, the Enlightenment's picking up at 1784. A group of enlightened thinkers in Bavaria and Germany meet together, and they're like, "We want to control the world." But the thing is, they're a bunch of losers. Like, the Illuminati in 1784 are just a bunch of, like, role players sitting in their basement. Like, "Alright, how can we gain control of the world?" It's like, "I will invest 5 marks into our local bank, and then eventually we'll control the banks." The Illuminati doesn't do anything. However, there is a group of people that are slowly entering the Illuminati, and they plan to sort of do a little soft revolution within the Illuminati to take power over the Illuminati, and they're much more competent. Why are they much more competent at running the Illuminati? Because they're more experienced. It's in their natural genes to rule over people. Who are they?
Not people.
I was honestly
The
hoping
Martians?
I was honestly hoping Twisted was gonna say the Jews,
Oh.
but it's
The Jews!
No, it's the
Oh.
Martians. The white Martians that have been
Hey,
stuck
guess
on
what?
this planet since they
Wait a
showed
minute, wait
up.
a minute. Hang on. There was talk about the Jews being from space, right?
Nah, he said he wasn't gonna do that.
That's
though.
not in the
I
cocoon.
know, but maybe!
No. Moving on.
All right.
Jews are descended from the white Martians.
Yes.
That's racist as shit.
And with that, we have reached the 2-hour mark for today's Radio Radix.
Woo!
Commander Radix. My brain hurts.
Any questions?
And I've only been here for like an hour and a half.
Any questions for today's lecture?
Oh, it's the end of the lecture? I
What
have a
year are we
question.
on?
We are at 1784. The next event will be 1801.
Okay.
Hey, what's
I
the
have a
current date?
question.
I mean, what's the current date?
There's got to be something like you're up to a certain point. Like, what is the current date? How far?
It's
through the
we're up
universe
to
are we at?
2018. He's up to present day.
Yeah.
Oh,
the
okay,
thing.
okay.
Because he read the Dreadcore issue, which literally takes place in present day.
Oh, I stopped paying attention to the Jerk Core issue.
Well, that was the best issue of the entire series. I'm just
I don't know. I'm waiting for the overthrowment of the Twisted Empire. Oh, yeah.
All right, so thank you, students, for
gloss
coming
over
to
that
the
one.
class. Let's see if the viewers watching at home was interested into this Cuckoo Universe, you can read the Cuckoo Universe in the description below. Also, we will be doing another episode eventually in season 2, another lecture carrying on from 1801 onwards. So if you want to catch more episodes of Radio Radix, it will be on Commander's Cabin. Season 2 starts on Commander's Cabin. There will be a hiatus of about a week or two, just so I can focus on some of the videos I want to do on my channel. But after that, we'll be back with Season 2 on Commander's Cabin. Link to that channel is in the description as well. So thank you guys all for coming out. Any closing statements you guys would like to make?
Yes. Next Saturday, Lazy Koalas podcast.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Next Saturday, June 30th or whatever, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time over on the Lazy Koalas channel. I will be, and some of these guys will be, if not all of these guys will be, on the Lazy Koala podcast. So go over there. You know, the channel's in the description. You have no excuse besides time constraints.
There's no time constraints on it.
there are no time constraints.
There are not.
The Lazy Koalas exist outside of space and time.
I see.
These time constraints can't hold me.
Thank you guys for
And
showing
then,
up. It has been a great season 1. What do you think, Twisted, my co-host?
Well, I have to say, good time. It's been a ripping good time. We haven't stayed on topic very much. Just maybe the most we've stayed on topic the entire time.
Oh, yeah.
But it's been a ripping good time. It's been amazing. Thank you for all the other co-hosts that have come and graced with their presence, mainly Ultron, I guess.
Wow.
Dreadcore. Poor Dreadcore.
Did Draco actually have an episode?
Not to himself, but he's been on at least 2, including this one.
What? I was talking about just co-host. He was just there.
Oh, just co-host by themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, Ultron stayed by himself.
Technically, I'm still a co-host. Because
Like,
No,
technically,
sweetie.
you're still
Sweetie?
black belt.
Sweetie.
Oh, God, jeez.
we're no longer friends, Ultrax.
On that note, thank you guys for coming out. I am ending the stream.